The Egyptian pyramids have long been one of the most mysterious architectural works of mankind. For centuries, scientists have asked the question, how could the ancient Egyptians build these structures without modern technology? Recently, thanks to artificial intelligence, AI, technology, scientists have deciphered many new things about the secrets of building the ancient Egyptian pyramids. About the origin of the blocks. AI analyzed limestone samples from the pyramid and determined that much of it was quarried from quarries near the Giza pyramids. Limestone is a relatively soft rock that is easy to cut and shape, allowing the ancient Egyptians to create large blocks of stone. The granite used to cover the pyramids and the king's chamber came from Aswan, more than 500 miles away. It is an extremely hard rock, making it difficult to quarry and transport. Cutting granite blocks would have seemed an impossible task for the Egyptians at the time, but through research and evidence, scientists have made some amazing discoveries about how the Egyptians transported the granite from Aswan to Giza. The surprise here is that the Egyptians used water and wooden wedges to soften and crack the stone, making it easier to cut. To transport granite from Aswan to Giza, the ancient Egyptians built a system of canals, bringing building materials closer to the pyramid construction site during the annual flood season. After the ancient Egyptians successfully quarried and transported the stone blocks to the construction site, the next big question was, how could they lift the tens of tons of stone blocks to the height to build the pyramid? There are many hypotheses about this construction. The ancient Egyptians combined straight ramps, spiral ramps, rollers, cranes and levers. But thanks to AI analysis, along with authentic evidence that archaeologists have excavated around the pyramid, and through descriptions in ancient manuscripts, scientists have confirmed the use of a canal system during the construction process. It was certainly a complex system of waterways used to transport materials, thanks to which this giant pyramid structure was covered with a layer of bright white stone, easily reflecting the bright white light of the sun during the day. When mentioning the Egyptian pyramids, many people often imagine a dry desert surrounded by sand. However, historians, archaeologists and AI researchers have proven that thousands of years ago, about 4,500 years ago, the Nile River flowed closer to Giza than it does today, so the area around the Giza pyramids and along the Nile was a fertile, green and vibrant land. That also made it easy for the ancient Egyptians to transport materials to build the pyramids. With its advanced construction techniques, the Great Pyramid of Giza is the only one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world that remains intact to this day. It held the record as the tallest structure in the world for over 3,871 years until the Lincoln Cathedral in England was built in 1311. The Great Pyramid of Giza is one of the oldest, largest and most perfect wonders on Earth. It is not only an architectural and engineering wonder but also a geographical wonder because the Great Pyramid of Giza is located at the intersection of the longest meridian and the longest parallel in the world. The 4 main sides of the pyramid are perfectly aligned with the 4 cardinal directions, north, south, east, west. The positions of the 3 main pyramids at Giza reflect the 3 brightest stars in the constellation Orion's belt. This shows that the ancient Egyptians knew how to align the pyramids precisely to the north and also based on the night sky, the connection between the Earth and the universe. The biggest question is, how did the ancient Egyptians build these great wonders? Modern AI tools are helping scientists decipher ancient texts written on papyrus and carved on stone to reconstruct the construction process of the timeless pyramids, as well as how they transported millions of giant stone blocks weighing from 2 tons to 15 tons up hundreds of meters without modern machinery. Wasn't it the technique of using sledges on wet sand and wooden rollers to move the blocks up the slopes around the pyramids? Using this method, they estimate that the ancient Egyptians would have taken hundreds of years to build a pyramid instead of over 20 years. Here, the Egyptians took advantage of the Nile River to build a complex system of canals, creating their own water pressure to easily transport each giant stone block to the pyramids. In 450 BC, nearly 2,000 years after the pyramids were built, the Greek historian Herodotus wrote about a canal from the Nile to the limestone area, flowing down to the pyramid site. A harbor would be built across the canal and a covered elevated road would be built from the courtyard to the pyramid site. A moat or enclosure would be dug around the limestone quarry and filled with water. Along the banks of the Nile was papyrus, Cyperus papyrus, the raw material for making paper and mats since ancient times. Papyrus has the ability to float on water. And if enough papyrus is tied to rocks, the rocks will also float without sinking to the bottom. In addition, the ancients often used animal skins to carry drinking water in the desert. If you blow air into those leather bags, they will float on water without sinking to the bottom. Using Nile water, papyrus, cedar wood, and animal skins, workers would force the blocks to float on water through canals from the Nile to transport the stones to the pyramid building site. This method made the process much simpler and easier than dragging each stone across the sand. When the flood season begins, the Nile River rises, allowing thousands of blocks of stone to float on the water, making it easy to transport thousands of blocks from the harbor to the pyramid construction site. From the base of the pyramid, they built water channels up, designed as a closed water pipe and with gates that open and close at each height. The first gate would be open to allow the blocks to move into the water channel. Then, it would be closed. At this point, the blocks would still float and move up. When the second height was reached, the next gate would be opened. In this way, the blocks would be brought to any height that people wanted. Using this principle, the Egyptians could transport heavy blocks to the top of the pyramid. At the top of the pyramid, there were water channels to help guide the blocks to the required location. The process of moving the blocks was done by draining or filling the channels with water. To regulate the water pressure from low to high, every 15 meters people built a gate that opened and closed. There were 4 such water channels built on the 4 main sides of the pyramid. Here, water channels were also built around the pyramid surface. And they also designed doors that opened and closed to create water pressure. Opening and closing the doors would help them move the stone blocks to their final position easily. When completed, the Great Pyramid of Giza stood over 146 meters tall and its outer sides were covered with white stone, creating a bright white pyramid that could be seen from miles away in sunlight. The capstone was made of granite, coated with a gold or copper alloy to reflect light, symbolizing existence and divinity. The frescoes were decorated with hieroglyphs telling the story of the pharaoh's life and achievements. Over the past 4,000 years, most of the white limestone has eroded, mainly due to earthquakes. Undoubtedly, with advanced construction techniques that have stood the test of time, the Great Pyramid of Giza remains the only one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world to remain intact to this day.